concept of reassessment is a challenging and frustrating one for anyone because it's a big project, it's an expensive project, and there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about what reassessment really is. When we talk about reassessment, it's all centered around the concept that all property owners shall pay their fair share based on the fair market value of their property. That's what the law requires. What's fair share? Oh, that's a loaded word, isn't it? Fairness of taxes can be evaluated a lot of different ways. I like to talk about the ABCs of tax fairness. A stands for assessments, and that's what we're here to address. Assessments should be uniform for like properties. If three taxpayers have similar properties that would sell on the market for the same price, they should be assessed the same, and then they should pay taxes that are equal to each other. Their ability to pay under the law doesn't come into play at that point. Only that like properties should pay the same amount of tax, and that's called uniformity. We accomplish that. So assessments is one element of tax fairness. Basis, that's the B in my ABCs of tax fairness. Basis is how we pay for local government. Most of the funding for county, municipal, and school district funding comes from the real estate tax. And it has become a very burdensome tax for the average taxpayer to pay. The only way to reduce, as a whole, the real estate tax is to shift the basis of tax collection partially away from real estate to other forms of taxation, like sales tax, income tax, or other forms of taxation. Government needs money to operate. If you're going to reduce one form of collection, you must balance that with an increase of another form. Unfortunately, county commissioners do not have the authority to do anything other than real estate tax as their primary means of collection. Any change in the basis must occur a few miles west of here in Harrisburg. The legislature has looked at tax reform. We have a Supreme Court decision ruling that failure to address tax assessments over long periods of time can result in court-ordered reassessments. We have tremendous taxpayer frustration and desire to see a reduction in the real estate tax and a change of some sort. What that's going to be and how it's going to shake out is, I don't know. But it's a very challenging issue because there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt that surrounds it. Commissioners as a whole, the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania has been petitioning as a major plank of their platform every year. Please allow us to have a menu of taxation tools so that we can lower our real estate tax and spread it around to other forms of taxation. So basis is part of tax fairness, but has nothing to do with the reassessment. It's beyond the control or influence of the reassessment. And the third portion of tax fairness is cost control. If we spend less or keep budgets under control, that reduces the burden of taxes. Sort of goes without my experience. I've not met too many counties that don't have the kind of fiscal constraint that really want to nobody wants to spend more money than they absolutely have to. And I know your county here strives to do that. So cost control affects what we pay. And what do we mean when we say they should be at 100% of value? The assessed values in Lebanon County, and obviously I'm not repeating the press release that I gave you. You can read that at your leisure. The assessed values in Lebanon County are based upon 1972 cost books. The county has maintained their records, and they know what houses are out there, and they know who's put an addition on, and all the information is there. But the law says until you reassess, you have to use what's called the base year. Why do we go to 100% of value? Well, number one, when we tell the taxpayer what their property is worth, we should tell them what their property is worth, not some fancy percentage that just confuses people. So now that the law permits the county to go to 100% of value, the plan is to go to, if the property is worth $200,000, the piece of paper that they get is going to say, we think it's worth $200,000. Now, as a reassessment vendor, What's the process of the reassessment? Step one, data collection and computerization of data. In Lebanon County, we have a leg up on that process for two reasons. Number one, the county already has their existing data in a computer system, which they invested in many years ago from 21st century appraisals. That's number two. We've already got our software in, we just need to upgrade it. So this is part of why we've been able to provide such a great price to Lebanon County is our costs are reduced. We're not going to cut any corners. We do more effort on reassessment works than anybody in this business. But we have some legitimate savings here because the county already has the software and they already have the existing data into that computer database. That's good. That's what we're going to work on over the course of the next month or so. But we want to visit everything in the county. There's things where there might not have been a building permit, or there might have been a change to a property that isn't on the records. So we're systematically going to sweep the county, street by street, house by house, knocking on every door, taking the existing records with us to verify what the property descriptions are. And anything we find that's new will get added to the record, and anything that we can't find, it's no longer there, will get removed from the record. That data collection process will be conducted under Mike's supervision with experienced supervisors that have done this before, using data collectors that are collectors that we hire locally here from the county. These are much like census workers. They're not appraisers. They're trained to gather information about the measurements of the house, what kind of siding does it have. We will be giving the taxpayer a informational sheet that they can fill out and tell us things about the interior of the house. We will not need to do interior inspections, but we will knock on the door and let folks know when we're there. We'll take digital pictures of the house. The county is also investing in a special kind of aerial photography that will allow us to see the entire property from an aerial view, looking around like you're flying around it in a helicopter. So that we have a good pattern, because we don't set the values. Property owners do when they buy and sell real estate. We just study their behavior to determine formulas so we can predict what other properties are going to sell for. Once we have the final estimates of what properties are worth, we will send out change of assessment notices on or before July 1st, 2012, a little over 2 years from now. That's the legal deadline. We might stagger them or send them out a little bit early, but somewhere in the second quarter of 2012 is when the final answer, if you will, of this reassessment is going to be mailed to taxpayers. And on that notice, it's going to say, we think your property is worth $200,000 as of January 1st, 2012. If a property owner has questions about that, they're going to be able to call and talk about it over the phone. If they want to review their property description, they're going to be able to do it on the internet at no cost to the taxpayer. They'll be able to look at their own record for free through Courthouse Online. Actually, that'll be throughout the process. And if they want to go over it screen by screen, sitting across from a person in the office, we're going to make appointments. We call them informal reviews, where they can come in and face-to-face with someone, go over the whole thing and make sure the description's right, and tell us things about the property that we might not have known. There's a dispute with the neighbor about the property line. There's issues in the basement, or the upstairs isn't finished even though it looks like it is, and they'll bring pictures in, and they might bring appraisals in. And we will deal with corrections at the informal review level with the value in hand, and then revise the value if necessary at that point. If we have a dispute about value, even after the informal review, the taxpayer says there's no way it's worth $200,000, but our evidence shows it's worth $200,000. They have the legal right to file a formal appeal. At which point in time they'll come in to a formal appeal, present their evidence of value to a panel, who will make a judgment as to whether or not that evidence is compelling to change the assessment. Beyond that, they can go to common pleas, but very few taxpayers find that it's necessary to go with that, because we want the values to be right.
Phone has questions.
Yeah, I have